evening, everybody. You're all very welcome here tonight to join us for our Jazz Heritage Week lecture. First of all, I'd like to welcome our Minister Jennifer Renee, our Mayor Paul Duke, and Archaeological Paul or Ken Renee. Tonight we're in for a treat as our Jazz colleague and friend Paul Curran brings the Carlow Sugar Factory to life, to the people who work there and who are associated with it, throughout its almost 80 years of existence. As Paul has said, this is a nostalgic view of the past, during which you will see yourself or your friends or relations in the photographs on display here or in the presentation slides. As we are coming close to the centenary of the opening of the Carlow Sugar Factory, it is even more important that the history of the factory is being collected and preserved by historians like Paul for future generations. We also have some copies of Christopher Perr's book on the sugar company here tonight. So if anyone would like a copy of that, you can see Gary down at the back after the presentation. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. In the unlikely event of an emergency, the exit doors are behind me and also behind at the back of the room. And I have two events here that our Heritage Officer, Owen O'Sullivan, would like to announce. So on Thursday the 21st in the Carlow Library from 7 to 8 p.m, Dr. Mystere on Holy Wells, Heritage and Hydrogeology. And on Friday the 22nd in the Shaw Room from 1 to 2 p.m, Patsy Pearl, Life and Times of a Tributary Boatman. So just before I hand you over to Paul, I would like to invite you after to join us for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and a chat about tonight's presentation. So over to you, Paul.
Okay, thanks very much. Right, so great turnout. Just a background on me, my name is Paul Curran. As you're probably aware at this stage, I didn't work in the sugar factory, but like everybody else, everybody had somebody, and my grandfather, Louis Carr, worked there. And any of you might remember him, he'd be good age now if he was around. He would have been Santa Claus, basically, when Santa wasn't around, in case he's recording this. My background, I was in the fire service for 38 years, and we would have been at some horrendous calls over the years, including the sugar factory, some sad stories, which I don't really want to be digging up and upsetting people. But indirectly, I was involved in working in the sugar factory, and I had plenty of colleagues that were in the fire service that were also in the sugar factory over the years. Now, unfortunately, the projector is acting up a bit here, so normally I would have had a keyboard here, so I'll be walking around a little bit if that's okay. So I just want to welcome you all. You're aware of the exits, and as I said, just tea and coffee at the back. So we're going to get straight into it because there's a good bit in it. The beginning. So we're going right back to the very beginning. The sod was turned in January 1926 by Most Reverend Dr. Foley. Continental directors at that time were Sir Maurice Lippens as chairperson and Colonel C. M. Gibbon as a vice chair of the directors. November 26, within the same year, the campaign starts up, which was a remarkable achievement. You know, you wouldn't do it today with planning and all that, but back then, in the same year that he turned the sod, you know, business was up and running, which was remarkable. So the campaign starts up on November 26, and according to Paul Lyons, as I'm sure most of you know Paul Lyons, he's on leave at the moment, that was a remarkable achievement. According to an article then in Newscatcher, which is a remarkable little publication that went on for about 8 years, from 97 up to 2005. In 2001, to celebrate the 75 years of Irish sugar in Carlow, it was said that the employment generated during the construction in 1926 was most welcome, and all sections of the community looked forward to a brighter future for the town arising out of the many benefits which the factory would bring. The factory was erected by local firm Messrs. Thomas Thompson and Sons. The machinery was installed by various other companies and technicians. So just a little clip then, there were very few lorries in those early days. So most of the beet was delivered to the factory by rail and horse-drawn canal barges. The local beet, however, was drawn to the factory by horse and cart, and very long processions of these were a common sight, as they carried not only beet but also limestone to the plant. Sampling of each load in those days was done by hand. The daily beet was approximately 1,650 tonnes, and the daily sugar production was approximately 230 tonnes, which had to be sold in competition with lower-priced imports. The factory was initially managed by Major Mascart, followed by Mr. Schumann's. There were approximately 200 full-time employees, and these were joined by large numbers of temporary workers for the campaigns. Some of these temporary employees in the early years came from Belgium and returned home when the campaign ended. In 1929, automatic sampling was introduced. Lorries were becoming more common, although some steam wagons were still used, which were a most impressive sight. So you can see some of the earlier photographs there of the management. I can't see now because of the laptop, but if you don't mind me walking around here, you can see there some of the earlier people, senior management mainly. Okay, so it's a really good photograph that was, you can get it on Facebook as well. It's up on the Carlow Sugar Factory website, Facebook website. Fantastic photograph, colorized as well. So there you have the rail that we were talking about, the early stages of it there. You can see some of the personalities. Sadly, they all have passed at this stage from 1926. This is a great photograph here, and Jimmy Hogan from Chapelstown had this, and his dad is in this picture. I think that's his father here. Okay, so a group of Irish and Belgian workers taken during the building of Carlow Sugar Factory in 26. So in the front you have J. Henneberry, T. Roach, J. Salter, J. Davis, and at the back you have Jim Hogan that we mentioned, and Pádraig Quillen and Michael Nolan. This is another fantastic photograph which was captioned. It was in the Nationals a few years ago as well. And you can see this photograph here is from Liam Sullivan's webpage. So you can see the personalities here. May 26, back row, J. Dowling, P. O'Neill, J. Cradden, John Quinlan, all Carlow men, J. Nolan, Michael Moore, Tom Mulhall, Arthur Anderson, Mick Bonney, Johnny Whelan, J. Gagan, and in the front you have Michael Lauder, John Clavel, and J. McDonald, John Snoddy. John Snoddy would be either a grandfather or a father of, I think, grandfather of Michael Purcell. John Galvin, Tommy Snate, great name, John McDonald, and John Gorman. Sorry to obstruct you there. So unfortunately we wouldn't have photos, names of any of these people, but it's a fantastic photograph of the Carlow lads in 26 or 27. Here we have an advertisement promoting sugar pump for cows from David Whelan. He found that for me. And these are some of the photos you can find in the library and in Christopher Power's book, which there's a couple of copies of available. Okay, so we're going to kind of come up a little bit now up to Cosset, so we'll just read another bit there, sorry. Just bear with me now. So the only alternative at the time relating to moving the material, the sugar beet and so on, was to use carters. So the news, the article that wrote it, or the person that wrote the article in Newscatcher in 2001, these were people who supplied their own horses and carts and moved materials around the factory as required. Sugar was sold through wholesale merchants and dispatched mostly by rail and canal. Pulp was sold on open market, some to merchants, some directly to farmers, and quite a lot was exported. There was very little at the time demand for molasses, although some was sold in drums, and practically no demand for factory lime at that time. This is in the early 20s. By 1932, Carlow Factory was manufacturing approximately 15,000 tonnes of sugar, but Ireland still imported about 85,000 tonnes. Then in 1933, the government established the Irish Sugar, basically, Carlow Sugar Erin, the first state-owned sugar company. And by 1934, Eamon de Valera had turned the sods of three more factories in Tuam, Thurles and Mallow. The first campaigns of these three plants began in October 1934, and a total of 70,000 tonnes of sugar was produced. So within 10, 15 years, Ireland was producing nearly all the sugar itself. It didn't need to import it from anybody. Liam Byrne writes in his excellent article from Tinroyland Parish publication, which was released in 2005, that by 1945 Irish production had been stepped up to supply 99% of the home market from an earlier 14%. So that was, I just mentioned, a very, very substantial change there. Mr. Byrne also highlighted during the 50s, attention was given to producing a higher quality beet product. Soil testing was introduced, which indicated a shortage of lime in the land for better beet growing. As a result, the company set up their own quarrying plants to address the lime supply distribution to the farmers. Research centres to control and eradicate crop diseases were also established. Soon Ireland was to be a world leader in its own field, so to speak. In his article, People at Work from the Nationalist and Leinster Times, dated 30th of November 1962, Seamus O'Rourke wrote that the Carlow Factory alone is capable of handling over 3,000 tonnes of beet a day. And with the continuous introduction of a new continuous juice purification system in that particular year, in 62, the factory is now believed to be one of the most efficient sugar factories in Europe. He also maintained that beet could be grown in a variety of soils and climates. It needed little sunshine and can stand colder conditions than cane. In addition, it is part of a natural rotation of crops. Results in 1962 from the beet crops in Ireland were excellent. Okay. Also noted, Mr. O'Rourke mentioned in his article, that the Carlow factory gives continuous employment to 900 people, and a number of additional workers were taken on during the sugar campaign. So people back then, Assistant Manager Niall Nolan and Kieran Costello were in the engineering staff at one of the control stations. Beet has several byproducts. The tops contain sugar and the leaves are rich in protein. This makes excellent feeding for cattle and sheep. Pressed beet pulp and dried molasses feed beet pulp are the residue of the beet after sugar extraction. For the two of you that don't know that, okay? Me being one of them. Another byproduct, molasses or treacle, is the syrup from within the sugar crystals having been separated. Visitors to Carlow Sugar Factory were very impressed at its size back in '62. Its atmosphere of ordered confusion is enormous, and its enormous capacity to take in beet and turn out sugar. So we'll just go back, we'll go on a few more photographs here then. That's Costeds, I'll come back to that in a second, but in 1935, it was mainly Hurlan that helped set up Costeds, or Costeds supported initially. And you can see Jackie Lyons' dad, here he is here, with his neck exposed here. And here he is. Imagine him coming at you with a hurl. She'd just hand him the ball, like in fairness to him, and the hat on him as well. Everybody wore flat caps then, like somehow peaky blinders, you know. But this picture was from Mary O'Connor. Sorry, I'll go back to that picture. You can see the lads there, back row, left to right. Some of the names you might recognise as grandparents or whatever, or uncles or whatever. Dinny Byrne, John Rafferty, Ned Long, there's a great famous name. Joe Walsh, Willie Scouts, Jim Muldowney, Paddy Whelan, Mick Comerford, Jackie Lyons, as I mentioned. Front row, left to right, Jim Bryan, Charlie Timmins, a chap that was in the fire brigade as well, Willie Ryan, John McDarby, Percy McDarby, the great musician and showband extraordinaire, and Joe Gagan. Brilliant photographs. These photographs then appeared in the Nationalist in 2016. They were found, and have Paddy Keenan. Sorry to be blocking this up there, I'm sorry. Paddy Keenan and some of the sugar factory workers here on the floor. Just basically the chimney being built as well. So great to see them as well. Here we have the inventor of the exclusive beet harvesting principle, Lee Maddock, who was very heavily involved in getting Armour salmon into world recognition, or Armour as it was back then, and then later Armour salmon. And also in that photograph then is Mr. Austin Armour himself in the centre, Lee Maddock, as I mentioned, and Tony O'Shea, who was a design engineer. Okay. Then from Oliver Byrne. Oliver Byrne, as you know, worked in the sugar factory for years as well. Sadly passed there a few years ago. I got to meet him a couple of times, took a few photographs of him. Really interesting man. He was from St. Killian's Crescent, like myself and like my grandfather, Louis Carr. And he had a substantial collection of photographs, a remarkable archive. And he allowed me access to it as well. This gentleman, Karl Zabilecki, sadly passed away in 74, but he was one of the original engineers that came in from abroad to help train the lads and get them up and running. So, fantastic personality as well. Paddy Watchorn then, these photos are from Paddy Watchorn's collection. His daughter Veronica supplied these. So I'm going to just mention Paddy now for a minute. Just while I look at some of these photographs as well, a few other names back then were John Dempsey and Willie Hogan, Paddy O'Neill and Podge Ryan. Do you remember Podge Ryan? He set up a business in St. Killian's Crescent as well. Great engineer as well. Sorry, my eyes are not as good. My €2 glasses, you know. Pat Brenning, Jim Carr and John McCarthy all worked in the bagging area and were in the process of bagging up sugar to go to America, which was great for Carlow to get stuff so far away. Other people were Andy Timmins, Eddie Shaw and Bill Dowling. They were all sugar cooks in 1962. I'm just going to come back now and find a really good article by, here we go. Too many notes. This was sent to me then, Veronica sent this to me, it's fantastic. Now, I won't get into the union stuff at the end where he really brings it all up, but I was just going to read a few lines of it. Paddy Watchorn from 1917 to 2001. Sugar Factory Days. He actually wrote a little diary, which was amazing. Sad that it was never printed, but maybe, who knows. The Sugar Factory Days. Now, there's a bit in it, but it's really interesting. The Sugar Factory was started in 1926, and during the campaign, which he has in inverted commas, would employ 800 people on shift work from 9 to 5 and 5 to 1 and 1 to 9. During the off-season, this figure would drop to around 200 on day work. The factory was considered a wonderful opportunity for young lads like us. We would be apprenticed to a trade as well as trained for sugar cooking, and we would eventually take over from the foreigners who came over from Europe, the foreigners, to start the factory, such as the Czechs, the Belgians, the Germans and the Dutch. They were all talking to each other back then. These were the apprentices taken on the two previous years that I started, he says. Paddy Bergen, who I'm sure you've all heard of, his future brother-in-law, Harry Brannigan, Jim Doyle, Jack Hines and Larry Drondle. These previous years, these chaps had not been allocated trades or were only sugar cook trainees. Only. It was only after my batch arrived that such trades were allocated to sugar cooks' apprenticeships. I sat for the very special examination with some 15 other contenders who came from many parts outside of Carlow. Well, having completed the exam, we had to wait for just over 2 weeks before we knew our destiny. How I got my result was rather funny. As I now relate, one morning walking up to the tech, I had to walk all the way from Knockbeg in brackets. The principal, B. O'Neill, passed me on the bicycle and he shouted back at me, "Count yourself lucky you came in fourth," he says. Was I delighted? You bet your life, but I still think some 59 years later that O'Neill expected me to do better. But I was there when I arrived at the tech. The full results were posted up on the notice board as follows. So he has them. First place was Pat O'Neill from Hackettstown, County Carlow. Second was Paddy Keenan from Port Leash, County Leash. Third was John Carroll from Killian's Crescent, good old crowd down there. And fourth was Paddy from Knockbeg, Carlow. And Pat O'Brien from Clogrennan in Graig was fifth. Well, that was a great day in my life and we were all happy. I could not wait to get home and tell my mother and father the good news. They were over the moon and had me settled in what they call a job for life. So there you go. Now, just go on a bit then. I'll just go on a bit because it's really good. You sit down and have a good laugh at it. Like, it's fair play. The sugar cooks were all foreigners, like the Czechs or Slovaks. The fellas I trained with were called Joseph Fruchek and Kent Fuchs, or Fuchs. Maybe it depended if you had a few drinks in them. While others were Franz Zlamel, Han Dvorak, Karl Nepitz, George Ruspish. There were 2 Irish trained cooks also, Tom Maxwell and Leggy Nolan. We would gradually replace these guys and so bring that sugar industry under Irish control. We done just that, but somehow it all came under about earlier than expected due to the war starting in Europe. This is World War II, the emergency for us over here, which stopped the usual inflow of foreigners for the campaign. Season and some of the settled fellows decided to go back to their own country. A lot of them came from Sudan, Thailand, on the Czech-German border, and that was the last we heard of them. Sadly, probably a good few of them lost their lives in the war. But we had to take over, and we were proud to be able to do it, and do it well at that. So, what else could we say? Just a little bit more then. While the sugar campaign finished in January, we were delighted to have a new trade, which would cater for our off-season duties. So these lads learned 2 trades, which was some achievement, like. I was sent to the fitters' workshop to become a fitter apprentice, along with J.O. Carroll and Paddy O'Neill. Paddy Keenan went to train as a bricklayer, and Pat O'Brien to become a lathes turner. So, what else could we say there? That was, he talks about the war years then, which were really, tough going. Of course, we as young fellas did miss a lot of war excitement, and envied those of our own age who packed in and went away and joined the British Army. Some of those lads sadly never came back. So he talks too about the Germans bombing the North Strand, and he mentioned that this was the night Dublin was bombed, and I was lucky the North Strand only a mile away. He was staying up there in digs, got several hits, and 18 people lost their lives, and great damage was done. Another 2 bombs landed in the Summerhill area just around the corner from the Walls Arm Hotel. So he was staying up there in digs on a course, but luckily he was okay. So anyway, we'll go on a little bit then. So I'm just going to talk about the cannery there in a second. I'll just go through another few slides now. I'm kind of trying to cover it all here and keep us happy. So there's Paddy Watchorn, the chap that we were reading about there. Then another gentleman, great friend and relation of Paddy was Paddy Bergen, of course. And here he is with Jacob Carroll, Bertie Bishop and Paddy Bergen himself, obviously. And here he is as a young man in his Crombie coat. He talks about the beet factory apprentices as well, but we kind of covered that there. He mentioned people like Patrick Keenan from Portlaoise and John Carroll and so on, and Patrick O'Brien. So this is a kind of a sketch of Paddy, and these photos are from the Patrick Bergen collection. His son was here last year. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. He was talking, he might come along, but this image here where they launched the bench. This is fantastic. Do you recognise anyone in any of those photos? There's 1 or 2 years here. Anyway, this lovely caricature of him that was in the paper and a few photos. I mean, he wasn't a man really to get into photographs, in fairness to him. But there you go. Great personality as well. So it was nice to see the bench launched to him there, and you can see the lion kiln in the background. Fantastic. Here we have more photos then. Mr. O'Neill on the lathe, couldn't get his first name. But everybody was Mr. then. Anyone who was older than your mother would go, you didn't go to school with him. So I'll call him Mr. and Mrs. So anyway, the vacuum pumps, Paddy Keenan there, as I mentioned, the sugar cook, and Paddy Watchorn, inspector fitter. Great photographs. And here you have Boris Zlamel from Czech, Paddy Walker, the helper, and Jim Doyle, the cook. And they're from Veronica as well. Great photographs. Here we have Tom Maloney from Knockbeg and Paddy Watchorn from Knockbeg in 1936. And here they are building the Larkfield houses as well. So great pictures as well. Now, Tom Ray there, as you know, was in. Tom here? He said he might be down, I'm not sure. But anyway, there he is, taken a month or so ago. And his dad was in the 1944 team, along with 3 or 4 members of the sugar factory. Great photograph as well. Colorized. There's my grandfather here in the centre. Looks like Al Capone here. And that photograph is below there, and there is captions with it. Great personalities, all of them. My grandfather was a foreman carpenter at that time. He actually was with Thompson's originally and was involved in the building, and then came back then after the war. Him and Sledger Foley were in the Royal Air Force as tradesmen. They weren't shooting down any planes there, probably in the bar holding it up, but they were great personalities and stayed together throughout their working life. Here he is again. So my brother Marcus is living. Padder O'Connor and Padder O'Connor on the left is superintendent engineer, C. Britain with Louis Carr. And here he is again in the middle, always in the middle. And here we have one of the trains that would be coming in and out, bringing the. There was a direct line to the sugar factory, as you well know, and they had their own little train system there that go in and take material away. Bring in material and take it out. These photos, Dermot O'Brien found these, which are brilliant. January 1952, Paddy Dillon, Mary Fox, Jim Green, Kay Gaffney and Joan Murphy, all sugar factory office employees. Here's the cannery, which we're going to cover in a few minutes. Cannery opened in 1962. It's not a great picture, but it's more about the names. Jimmy Brennan, Noel Dowling, John Purcell, Jim Kennedy, Tommy Foley, the foreman, Mick Malone and Ed Carey. Because getting the names is important, you know, because they're great people. This one I'd love to help, but it's a long time ago. I'd say that was in all the flat caps, so it's probably the late 30s, 40s, possibly. Fairly hardy men on you, in fairness to them. Danny, do you recognise anyone in that picture? Sorry, can you say? Who's in it?
I just said move that way.
This lady recognizes.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Do you reckon, is he in that picture? It's very hard. Yeah, first job trying to get names for that picture. It's a pity, really. Then in 1951, sugar factory staff Pauline Sheehan, Mary O'Donnell, Anna Noctor, and Joan Murphy. The women had played a huge part in the sugar factory, as you know, and it was important to mention them. The jute sack section staff there, all ladies. Do you recognise anyone in that photograph? Now, this photograph is captioned as well. I kind of ran out of time. I wanted to get it captioned, but it's on display there with the names in it, but great personalities in that too. That's 1962, it's 58, 59, I think. Do you recognise anyone stand out to you? Is there or no? I have it captioned below. Some of it, couldn't get all the names, but. Donny Fenlon, he would love him to be here today, but he's getting a procedure done on his eye. But there's his dad, George Fenlon, and Mr. and Mrs. Frank Philglass. Ah, very good. There you go. Great. This is Veronica sent in this. This is Paddy Watchorn was you can see there, it was the secretary. Now, for life of me, I can't find him in that. Where is he?
He's in the front middle with the hand on somebody's. See where go over the front row.
All right.
There, go. The tie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here he is, cool moustache, Slim Whitney moustache. There's my grandfather again, with Sledger Foley. I don't know, the wheeling and dealing with the accountant, and I think the year is 1956. So it's the union fees probably. Great picture. Here then we have Donny Fenlon that I mentioned earlier there. Dan Cash, Brian Nolan, Christy McGrath, and Martin Nevin, who's here, and Shamie Thornton. Okay, great. And that was why, this is another photograph from Oliver Burns' collection of photographs. Here, I just see my grandfather, here he is again. He has a pint and he has a sandwich, so he's set up for the evening there. He has it all, he's set up there. There was another photograph like that, and there's 3 or 4 of them in like that into a bush. There's loads of things going on in the photograph. It's probably just as well not to show it. This then is a great photograph. It was a workman's club outing, but a good few of them would have been from the sugar factory as well. And their name down there, so I'll call out from Ned Duke again. Sledger Foley is up here sitting on the windowsill up at the town hall. Jay Meany, Tom McGrath, Billy McGrath, father and son. My wife's grandfather, her grandfather and my grandfather in the same picture there. That's the whole thing about Carlow. We're all connected and it's important. Oliver Canal, Pat Purcell, P. Curran, no relation, John Griffin, Mick Timmins, Watchorn, Murray, Louis Carr, as I mentioned, Cash and Whelan, Nolan, Great people, all great personalities. Now a woman inside. They were probably inside there with the kettles. Then this is another, it's a bit furry, but it's a great picture. Joe Gorman, the Heavy Gang. I'm sure you heard of the Heavy Gang. They were the lads when things needed to be moved, either other people or machinery. Andy Dermody, Seamus Thornton, Joe Hendrick, Tony Kelly, and was an apprentice, and Tommy Whelan, the ship fitter. That was by Donald Fenlon on occasion of the removal of the standby generator, shared by Dermot O'Brien on the Dermot is here on old Carlow photographs. Another great photograph here. There's Jim O'Brien, Michael Dunn, Paddy Curran, Liam Byrne, Sean Payton, Jack O'Brien, Tommy Murphy, Michael Hayden, Paddy Dunn, Oliver Gavigan, John Fay, Pat Cullinan, Tom O'Malley, Creedon Hayde, Mick Walsh, Willie McCann, God be good to him, poor old Willie, Vinnie Dignan, John Clowry, Eddie Fox, Paddy Whelan, Tom Wheatley, Jack Lawler, Ollie Burke, Tony Whelan, and P.L. Curran. P.L. is here anyway. I heard him. There's another photograph from the Archives, Factory League Leinster Champions, 1952-53. Great personalities. All of them would have been involved in the sugar factory, obviously. Great picture as well, isn't it? Great personalities. There's the great Andy Murphy, sadly passed away as a very young man. There was an article in the Nationals about him there a while back. Yeah, the Factory League and so on. Great footballer. We had some great players over the years. We just couldn't get them all together on the one team. That was the problem. This is Costas then. My grandfather would have gone up at the back there. Tony Croghan in the top hat, and Jimmy Byrne, Jim Whelan and Mick Foley are also in the picture, yeah. Another photo from Oliver Byrne there. Sorry about blocking this up. You got the worst seats. You got the cheap seats. You should have gone into the middle. And this is a great picture as well. I got this from Karl McDonough again. And it's the management and drivers. There's our Pert there, Pert Nolan's in it. Is this Con Maloney here? Yeah. Again, it's on the table there, fully captioned, and I ran out of time. We'll be talking about, this is Glynns of Carlow, one of the hauliers. The hauliers did play a huge part. I appreciate that. Like, there was up to 250 different hauliers, so it's very hard to list them all, but it's important to mention them in fairness to the great work, and they kept the link between the sugar factory and the community and the country and even the world stocked, so it played a huge part. This is a great photograph, aerial photograph, probably in the 50s. You can see the factory up there in the back, you know, watching out over everything, and there's a barge going up to it there on the barrow. And it's a great picture, 1940s or 50s, I'd say. How much has changed over the years? Still, you can go to court, no problem. No problem with that. Then here we have Mr. Phil Gass here. He's in this picture in the front, in the middle. Mr. Creameler at the back, Dick Agars, Jimmy Rice, Jack Ward, Barney Nolan, we think, and Mr. Proctor at the very left there. Paul Lyons here with his colleagues Michael Broderick and John Sharp. And some of the ladies again, this was in the Nationals a while back, outside the packaging store at Carlow Sugar Factory in '67. Bill Egerton, Agnes O'Reilly, Patricia Ryan, Eileen Dalton, Betty Waters, Annette Burke and Jimmy Butler. So, my grandfather again, sorry. I was sending, it doesn't be in photos, but obviously he was. And this is my mother, God be good to her. And you have Michael Noctor and Mr. and Mrs. Wall and Wall's Engineering. This is when you could have a cigarette. Do you remember all those days? There's a great pic of poor old Oliver there. I took that myself, I think, in 2019. I think he passed a year or so there. Great picture here then. It's a bit blurry, but there's some great personalities in it. Costas Irish social, I think it was a fishing trip. Joe Brennan, Jimmy Slattery, Paul Lyons again, Willie Murphy, Willie McCann again, God be good to him, Joe McDonald, Harry Byrne. I know a lot of these had passed away. I wouldn't have known them. A couple of more recent ones I would have recognised. Eric Ingram is in it again. Joe Redmond, Stephen Nolan, Bernie, on. At the end of this, I'll be giving you my email, will be up on it now. Don't torment me about it, but if you send me an email, at some stage I'll send you a PDF of it, okay? But, it's about sharing. It's not about one having something that the other doesn't. But I won't be able to do them all in 2 nights or something, but anyway, we'll come back to that. It's about sharing, as I said, okay? Tig Toomey, Mick Shannon, Paddy Miles and Pat O'Neill and numerous others in there. Just trying to rest here. This is a great picture of Paul or Oliver. God be good to him. Here we have some of the trucks, great work that they did. Jay Keys is on that one on here. At the factory where the 4 counties meet, Carlow, Kildare, Laois and Kilkenny, lorries from the Eastern Midlands to scourge their cargoes of white gold. Now, isn't that a great image? Paul Lyons said this was up on the wall in one of the offices, and it's fantastic because it shows, it's great even for schools and stuff to show them, and it's you know, it's like a little toy. You have your little lorry going in there at number 1, you know. Beat arrives at the factory and the boys have a chat and a coffee, and it's weighed and sampled and sugar content and tar, dirt and everything, and it goes through the whole process of even the little kilns there. It's a fantastic image to show for schools and that. And it explains it really here. In number 5, the tin sugar juice is filtered for factory lime. Steam from the boiler house passes through a steam turbine and travels at high pressure into the evaporation chambers to produce thick sugar juice. It goes the whole filtration process and the kiln here, its role and everything. It's fantastic. Like, it's really good. This pic was in the National. It's hard to believe the years are flying. 2013. We didn't get all the names, but it's fantastic. This guy didn't want to be in the photograph, obviously. His head is down, or he might have dropped something. This is the same image again, a little bit clearer. Some of the names are captioned across here as well. This is interesting. This lady then was a steeplejack, Mrs. Collins, the steeplejack, and part of her job was to kind of do site work or whatever up on the roof and up on the building and whatever. I was up on it myself a few times when I was burning years ago. And, the asbestos tiles and everything was lethal. Like. But, she was a steeplejack and came down to do work in Carlow. This is a great photograph as well. There was arguments over who took this. Tony Maher maintained he set it up. But Anthony Corr took the picture, just so anybody, and Tony admitted that now, so fair play to him. He would have loved to get here tonight, but he's tied up as well. But Tony is in the picture, so you can't take it if you're in it, but it was a self-timer he maintained, so he's there. And some of the people that are in this picture, sorry not to block, I just call out now, personnel. Some of them are Tommy Cork and Tig Toomey, who was head of research, Eamon Long, Jimmy Kehoe, GA personality from Lockenbridge, Pat Summers, Al Kelly, Beat Hallers, head of the department, Bishop Lennon, of course, Con Maloney, the factory manager, Fran Murphy, Nick Cash, Paddy Maguire, Tony Maher, my grandfather, Percy McDarby, the musician, Eamon Smith, and Sean Whelan, to name some of them. And Tony Carr was the photographer, but with help from Tony Maher. And this is captioned, this is the same picture again. It's not bats flying over them and dropping stuff. It's actually Paul Lyons captioned them here. So you have Teddy Proctor, if you follow down the line. Jim O'Brien, Dermot's dad, is here. Paddy Dillon, Mick Brennan, Jerry Duggan, Father Crowley, Percy McDarby, you follow down there, he is down here. Joe McDonald, who might be here. That's what's going on there now, sorry. Jim Kehoe, Bill Murray, Jerry Gordon, God be good to him, Laz Little, Enda Smith, Jack Bennett, they're all Pat Summers, they're all in. It's a great picture. And at the front, Louis Carr, Bob McGrath, Mrs. Kitty Malone, Al Kelly, Tig Toomey, Bishop Lennon, Maurice Sheehy, Tony Maher, he's highlighted there. And with Bishop Lennon, then Con Maloney left, Morris on the left is Maurice Sheehy, Eamon Redmond and Michael O'Sullivan. Sadly, all these gentlemen, nearly all of them have passed away. Sorry, you still with me? Sorry, Pat Rochford with Owen Fox, and Eamon Collins, Eddie Cox, Ollie Byrne, and Owen Buckley. Jack Bennett with Paddy Dooley. Anyway, we'll go on through, I'll try and read another bit here now, while my eyes are still working. 1962, follow me up to Carlow. The Sugar Company Cannery at Oak Park is a hive of industry this week. This was in 1962, July. A total of 175 male and female workers are busy in the new food processing plant. At present, the workers are testing the processing of peas on the new machinery, and production will be in full swing next week. Farmers in the area will be kept busy supplying peas to the company, and later cabbage and carrots will be processed. The cannery will be officially opened later. So senior management back then in 62 related to Carlow Sugar included Lieutenant General M.J. Costello and Mr. Morris Sheehy, as we mentioned earlier, and Mr. Brendan Dowling for Carlow. He was the director of the company. Okay, so it's just, how are we doing there on that? That's good. So we're going to talk about armour salmon now in a few seconds, but we'll go through another few images here. So some photographs that from Joe McDonald's collection. Liam McDonald with his dad Paddy on a pensioner's visit, I think it was 1980 or thereabouts, and Jack Bennett with Paddy Dooley. Here we have them in 1980 as well. John McCarthy, James Kelly, Denny Hogan, Jack Bennett, George Ramsbottom, Tom Byrne and Paddy McCormick. And here we have a retirement then. James Scully, Palatine Carlow, retired after 32 years service in 1980 there with his wife and colleagues. Then Michael Fyde, who brought out the book in 1976, great journalist, died very young man as well, very sad, like in 1988, but he done a remarkable job on the book here. And there is a copy, I've only the one copy, so I brought it down if you wanted to know us through it. Michael Fyde from Murris, County Mayo, with wide experience as a journalist on daily, Sunday and weekly newspapers, has specialised in studies of the social and economic structures of the Irish people at home and overseas. His writings on such matters have appeared in several publications, many of them abroad. Shortly after joining Sugar Erin, he started research on the sugar industry in Ireland itself. After 50 years, he produced this remarkable book. The photograph came from he was from Mayo, from the Mayo newspaper. Another great personality, Jerry Nash. He did an excellent write-up as well of the first 74 years of the factory, and he had strong connections. His son was a tradesman in it as well, and both his parents worked in the sugar factory. So. And Kenny, you're going to see a few of these. In an ideal world, we'd like to mention everybody, and for as many as is mentioned, there's many not. You know, you're not going to cover them all in just an hour. But Anne Kenny, God be good to her. There was a write-up about her in 2000. Very sad too, to die at such a reasonably young age as well. Employees at the Carlow Transport Department in 1960s. No names of that one. Long Service Awards, 25 years. This was 2000. Jim Orkney, Paddy Ayres, Johnny Brennan, Peter Buckley, John Byrne, James Byrne, Tom Collins, Michael Condren, Patrick Donovan, John Dowling, and so on. William Fitzpatrick, Robin Fleming, John Foley, Victor Hayes, James Holden, Ollie Hutton, who was in the fire brigade with myself, Michael Cain Senior, Paul Kavanagh, Joseph Kenny, Dominic Kinahan, Ben McGarry, Donald McGettigan, James Moran, Robert Murphy, Desmond Murray, Johnny Nolan, Colin O'Connor, John O'Donovan, Thomas Ray, Adrian Regan, Michael Ryan, Liam Shanahan, R.A.P., Brian Shield. And then this is for 35 years, Mr. O'Brien there, you can see him. John Britton, Eddie Cox, P.L. Curran, Patrick Curran, Joe Kelly, Jim Ling, Michael McNamara, Alf Mitchell, Dennis Murphy Senior, William Nolan, Pat O'Brien, Colvin O'Brien, Nellie O'Neill, Billy Smith, Derek Tracy, and Paddy Witherow, yeah. This is a great photograph taken in the 1980s as well, and all the personalities. Look at Joe McDonald as a chap. It was kind of to bring the retired people out. Should they be all centenarians now? Some of the workers then that opened up the Carlow Cannery, I think we covered this already, but it's Jimmy Brennan, Noel Dowling, John Purcell, Jim Kennedy, Tom Foley, Mick Malone and Ned Carey. And some of the older guys then, Jim Byrne, Jimmy Kelly and Denny Hogan. And here we have the old lads looking at the young lad and he's shaking. Sean Lowry shows Ned Moore and Peter Wall, Paddy Dooley and Michael Malone, the sugar wrapping system in '79. And some of the older guys then again. Michael Malone, Martin Prendergast share a joke, along with Jack Bennett and Ned Moran. And then Tony Whelan, who passed away there recently, a great sportsman as well. Great hurler. Tony was a stylish hurler on the pitch and an astute analyst off it. Just various articles then. Alan Franklin retiring after 40 years service. And who's in this that we could... This is when they won some awards, silver medals for armour salmon, which is fantastic. And Mr. and Mrs. Alan Franklin and their daughter Mary, with Dr. Toomey on the research and development department on occasion of the presentation of Mr. Franklin. Carlow men retired. Con Maloney then presents Patrick Wright and Paddy Lawler with gifts. Mr. Gordon, God be good to him, and a great personality in County Carlow and around, throughout Leinster and Ireland, and a great sports star as well. And John O'Brien and his wife, May, as well. Great service. He started at the very beginning. In 1923, John, like most boys of his time, left school at 14. His first job, a temporary one, was to serve 75 junior clerical students at St. Pot's College, but as soon as the sugar factory was up and running, he was in there working. Some of the ladies then, Anne Kenny, Billy Flynn and Anne Curley, these were provided by Loretto Kenny. She's a great collection of photographs. Here we have after the kiddies party, Jimmy Doyle, Michael O'Sullivan, Mick Scully and Brian Lyons in the background. That's a great photograph there with Willie Piggott. I'm just going to talk a little bit about armour salmon. Just a small little piece because, time is against us. How are we on time? Probably. Armour salmon was the agricultural machinery division of the Irish Sugar Company. It started out as armour, just to be clear. Started in the 1950s, 52 I think, as the Irish company tried to provide the necessary machinery to reduce the big input of manual work in sowing, cultivating and harvesting the Irish sugar beet crop. Machines were produced and over the years were continuously modified and improved to meet the higher expectations of their customers. Armour then looked to export markets in the 1960s and 70s, where it became Armour Salmon. And at one stage was the second biggest supplier of machinery to the UK. Sugar beet grower, called the sugar beet growers. In addition, machines have been exported to most European countries and to the Middle East. Armour Salmon invested heavily in research and development to keep their range of equipment up to date and to meet the requirements for higher outputs and better performance. A complete range of equipment was produced, including seeders, inter-row cultivators, granule applicators, band sprayers, 1, 2 and 3 row harvesters, and cleaner loaders. Specialised machines have been developed and produced for a wide variety of different growing conditions and export markets. And this is a service that Armour Salmon provided right up to recently. Armour Salmon also provided engineering service to Irish industry and had built biomass harvesters. Specialised peat harvesting machinery for Board Namona, the Irish Peat Board, and was subcontracted for a variety of work from other firms. So just important to mention, they were a great company. That was from an article all about Carlow publication in 1986. Now we were just going to mention Bill Piggott. In that photograph there, you have Willie Murphy, from the left to right, Willie Murphy, Paddy Maher, Niall Kehoe, Jimmy Dermody, Tom Quinlan, it's Noel Kehoe, sorry, me right now. Sean Brooks and Willie Piggott. Billy Piggott there on the very end. So there was a little article about Bill Piggott that was worth reading out to you as well. One of the longest, this is from 2004, one of the longest lasting links with the past at Irish Sugar Carlow will soon be severed with the retirement of Willie Piggott earlier in that year. A true Carlovian, he was born and reared on Accommodation Road, where the fire station is now, before he moved across the road to his present home. Well, he's not there now, obviously, in York Estate. Willie joined Irish Sugar as an 18-year-old in 1957, working as a temporary for a number of years before being made permanent in the early 70s. During his long career with the company, he worked in every part of the organisation in Carlow. His first job was to pull beet by hand on the factory farm in the field behind St. Mary's Cemetery, where many company employees' homes are today. His foreman, just to give you a few names, his foreman was Tom Mulhall, and one of his workmates was a man called Jim Barlow. In 1962, Willie worked at the building of Erin Foods on a 3 shifts rota, borrowing cement from a big mixer. Tom Byrne, John Lowry, Tom Walsh and Ned Abbott were some of the foremen he worked with for a while. And a chap named Pierce Piggott, no relation, was site engineer. Later he went to work on the new plant on the Viners, where he also worked out in the fields helping with the loading of the lorries with peas and beans. Returned to the factory for both the brown and beet campaigns, Willie worked on the after product and middle line fugals and bottom sugar shaker. During the drawing of the brown sugar from the boats, he spent terms at Waterford Port and back in Carlow clearing the sugar to make way for the lorries and on those. So just to mention Bill Piggott, I actually got to meet him a few times there in New York State. Nice old chap in fairness to him. So we'll go on a little bit. So that's the lads there. There's Noel Kehoe here from Chapelstown, and there's Bill there. This then is Armour Salmon. This is Thomas Clowry, who was the manager. I took this recently. I was talking to him today. He's in great form. I don't know if he's here. He said he might try and get down. And this is a brilliant photograph of taken in 1976 of all the staff for Armour Salmon. Brilliant picture as well. Okay. Official closing of Erin Foods, it was 1981 when that happened, heartbreaking as it was. Some of the members then of R&D staff were Dolly Murphy, Betty Walsh, Rita Byrne, Brenda Kinsley and Annette Wheeling in 1979. Some more personalities, Bobby Burke with Tony Conley, who was the Sugar Factory manager in 1980. These are from the Joe McDonald collection. And Paddy Burke there retiring from the printing office alongside Joe Brendan. You have Tom Butler of Fenna Landscapes, Joe Moore, Armour Salmon, checking a beet harvester in 1980, great personality. He used to be involved in the cyanide side of things, which is some serious job. You couldn't afford to relax with that job. R&D staff, Colette Condren with Anne Sheridan and Loretta Landy. And Mick Byrne here, Michael Byrne image provided by his son Tom. It's a great picture. Lockie Nolan, that lived in the Crescent, great personality. Tommy McAvoy in the stores. This is the boys down at the Weybridge in 1974. Joe O'Neill, Frank Duffett, Jim Shannon, P. Carr, J. Scully, G. O'Hara, G. Hicks, J. McGrath, M. Dorn, P. Condren, J. Moran from Avery Installation Engineers, and Bob Landy. Burlandy. There's a picture of him later on there. He was 100 there, 101 when he passed away, a great age. Some more personality. Mr. Costello here, with one of his old battling buddies. Where is he here? Sorry, MJ, along with his friend A. Navril, I think it is. Then we have some other part. This is when the book was launched, Mr. Foy here in 1976. With the people at that time that were involved in the Sugar Factory, Dr. Von Tiederman from BASF, General MJ Costello again, and Michael Foy. Dennis Coakley was the chairman. This is a bit of hassle going on, I think. Discussions going on in the 70s or 80s. Great picture again. Here we have Cossets that we were talking about earlier, and some of the personalities there, the various outings and football and hurling and so on, tug of war and soccer squad. And the PL Curran there, he was a good man to kick a ball there. Teddy French, John Farrell, Greenie Nolan, Adrian Nolan, Sean Hutchinson, Noel Mulhall, Pat Bulger, Tony Lawler and Colin Mulhall. Here we have the Costas organising the Sugar Company games as well. The late Bill Moore here, I won't read all this, but a great personality as well, and did a short shift in the Sugar Factory as well. It's a great picture by Dermot O'Brien of 1981. It's full steam ahead. They've got the old cars, and brilliant, working away there, flying. Paul Lyons and Ollie Byrne, and this is Paul Lyons' grandfather who worked in the Sugar Factory, and his dad, as we mentioned earlier, the guy with the hat, the hurl, and that's he had a hat as well. So 3 generations there, and many of his, that would be the case, yeah, 2 or 3 generations of people working in the factory. We're racing through here now. More personalities over the years in the sugar factory. Some more for the ladies, Cora Broderick, Rita Kavanagh and Margaret Walsh. Here we have a retirement function. Jim McCartney, Alec Bohanna, Tom Doyle, Lee McKenna Sr., Laz Costello, Peggy McKenna and Cora Broderick. And in the front you have Biddy Flynn, Nellie O'Neill, Anne Curley and Una O'Hanlon. This side you have Joe Brennan, Jim McCarthy, Eamon Byrne, Angela Cahill, Anne Curley, Anne Kenny, Sheila Brennan, Billy Flynn, Breda Kavanagh, Loretto Kenny, and more folks around the same time. The last admin staff to leave the Straw Hall House, Nellie O'Neill, Anna Byrne, Bill Flynn, Anne Byrne, sorry, Loretta and Billy Boogie. Here we have some lads out in the yard and doing a bit of work. Had to peel all them. Eric Ingram, John Dermody, Tom Mulhall and Tom Byrne. And Mick Oliver Kane and Frank Walsh, Crown King in Carlow. Great football picture, cost us 1988 with all the lads. All right. Some personalities then over the years, two of them were in the fire brigade, Brendan Delaney and Martin Shaw, and sure, the great Jim O'Brien there at the end. Another retirement function, Joe O'Gorman, Eamon Redmond, Joe Gagan, Shamie Byrne, Jerry Nash, Jerry pops up a few times there, and Tommy Corcoran. Great pictures, aren't they? There's the father-in-law there, Frank Archibald. He's the only one that's not sugar, now we got into that. And all the lads there are the various personalities. Podge Bulger, gentleman there, he was in he passed away there in April, he was in the fire brigade as well in the 70s. Great picture. Oh, that's the end of that one, you'd be glad to know, but there's another one if you want to. Have you time or are you under pressure? How do you get out of this now? How to get out of this menu, sorry.
Technical.
It's 5 past already. Is it? Good. I'm sorry, let's get on that one. I will have to race through this one, okay, because I know time is against us. There's hundreds of photographs, but there was, Bill Piggott had these photographs up on his wall, looking at them every morning having breakfast. There was 3 of them, and they're just fantastic. They're all the various personalities from, he had that was fantastic. So I won't go through all the names because time is against us, but you can recognize yourself, hopefully they're in there. I'll come back to that one. This is the second picture here. There's Bill Piggott here, and all his colleagues. And here we have the third one, okay? All right. You recognise Paul Doug, new mayor there.
Pat O'Brien.
Pat O'Brien beside him. Yeah, they're all captioned there. Pat O'Brien, PJ Donovan, Jim Holden, Martin Doyle and Tom Ray in the front. At the back you have Edward Walsh, Mick Condren, Noel Brennan, Liam McDonald, Ger Dooley, Johnny Delaney, Tom Kenny, Joe Hennessy and Mike Dowland. They're all captioned there. Just to quickly go through, is this the Minchin chap here, Patrick Minchin. His dad had the haulage company as well, but here he's a young tradesman there as well. He sent in that photograph. Mr. Maddock, that was involved with Armour Salmon there. Just to rest through this. Some of the retirements then for 35 years service. See all the lads there, Mr. Keogh is there in the front. Just to rest through these because I know time is against us. This is 25 years service. Karl McDonough sent down these photographs. Carl's a good man to get photographs. If you can give him the rough year, he can organise the photograph for you, no problem. Here we have long service again, 25 years. Great picture there of all the various personalities. It's about the people, as I said. As the lads who saw that, this is Mr. Minchin, Peter Minchin, beat haulier, one of the many hauliers. Then we look at the hauliers in general. The late Patrick Dooley was a haulier. J.G. Yates, Thomas Collier, Patrick Byrne at the beat haulers dinner dance in 1971. Long service employees, presentations of inscribed crystal bowls were made to 3 Carlow Sugar Factory employees who had been in the company since '59. There were Sean Nolan, Jim O'Brien and Teddy O'Brien. There was also a presentation to the oldest beet grower for the Carlow factory, Pat Carton, from the Ferns area, who had been serving and provided sugar since '28. Four men then all in their 80s who were still supplying beet at that time in 2002 also received presentations. Paddy Quirk from Borris, Herbert Ashmore from Bagenstown, Martin Lennon from Bunclody, and King Milne from Ferns. And a presentation was made to Tom O'Neill, whose father was the first man to work on the site, in 1926. Various vehicles then that turned up for the 75th anniversary. Beat haulers, some included Jack Mulhall, Seamus Kelly, Stephen Weldon, Sean O'Gorman, Spruans, Colliers, Duns, Jack Mulhalls, Nolans of Wexford, Murphys, Burns, Patrick Dooley's, Shamie Kelly, Minchin and Sons, Glynns, Brian Keogh Sons and Boyles, and numerous others, okay? These are the people too that served in the Haulers Association over the years, Matty Byrne and the late Tom Murphy. Just trying to race through it here now. Other people, Mary King was involved in Irish Peat Haulers as well. She was the girl that kind of ran the whole show. Patrick Horn, another function in 1972 with senior people representing the Haulers Association. Paddy O'Boyle in that. Then the Irish Farmers Association, they had, some of you probably remember John Kehoe. He was very chatty the last time we were here. He had a great presentation. Here he is here, representing the Irish Farmers Association. They had a huge part to play in the whole sugar factory industry as well. More personalities than Mick Dorr. I think I mentioned that before already, Frank Walsh. And then we have We'll Fix It, the lads' shift maintenance crew, left to right. Teddy French, Brian Condren, Eugene Byrne, Jim Tynan, Paddy Byrne, and the late Gary Sinnott there as well. Sadly, most of them have sadly passed on. More personalities. Eugene Byrne being presented with a stereo system by Sean Byrne, maintenance manager. He was a winner of the safety draw. Here we have the rigger men, Pat Doyle, John Foley, Pat Farrell, Dan Curran, Joe Fanning, Steve McDonald, Jimmy King, Jim Scully and Mick Ryan. And another retirement then, Billy Flynn, Marion Doyle, Paddy Witherow, Jim McCarthy, Loretto Kenny and Margaret Walsh. Mick Brennan, and here on the left when he retired, a good send-off as well. Okay, this gentleman's name is not coming up. Jerry Nash, there's Jerry, yeah, Jerry Nash again. His name didn't come up there, sorry. And Paddy Gagan, he was in for International Person of the Year award. The various stages, in the later stages of the sugar factory in March 2005 when it closed up, and then 3 years later, heartbreak, and then there's very little even left there now. Some great personalities here. This is the disappointment of the sugar factory closing. The last day, Leo Gordon, Robert Fleming, Eamon Sunderland, and Gary Sinnott. And Paddy Farrell there, 4 generations of his family. It was heartbreaking when the sugar factory closed, no doubt about it. It was all over the papers, great stories there. It's I go through close-ups there. Really interesting write-ups here about the various gentlemen that worked in it. Johnny Harmon there was running the clock down on his final days. And he was only 61, you know. The lovely Mary there, a great lady to look after all the staff. And Johnny Mulhall there, in very pensive mood there with the shock of the closure. Okay. And here we have Mr. Harmon again, running down the clock. There's Billy Piggott. I took this picture of him about 5 or 6 years ago. He was in great old form. And here he is with his friend Michael Shaw. It's very important to mention Charlie Keegan because he's an almanac of the people of County Carlow. Like, he knows everything about everyone. He'd be a great secret agent, but he's a great man to give a write-up and research. Since he retired, he's a huge loss to the Nationals. He's fantastic. Here we have Paddy Byrne, Paddy Farrell and Michael Kehoe, graduates of the Carlow Sugar Factory. That was from Roger Jones. That was in the Irish Independent article. Great picture as well. Cannery then, the Cannery Fire. I think that's me there, doing a bit of work. Right in the middle of it, like held over, like a marshmallow in a cooking. In 2014, it's hard to believe, it's 11 years ago, yeah. Some more personalities, the late Jim Butler, Patrick Byrne. We won't go through the whole thing, but everybody deserves a mention, genuinely. And in an ideal world, if I had 2 or 3 days, you could get through them all. Some great personalities there. Joe McDonald on the top left. Jerry Doody got to go to him. Jimmy King also got to go to him. And Donald there, who's fighting a hard fight there. Michael O'Sullivan, a great article, again by Charlie Keegan. Fantastic write-up about him. Great personality as well. Loved by many, if not all. What's in this? This gentleman here, Shane Casey, who was writing about the sugar factory as well, the times, so on. This is an old relative of mine. See, the canteen staff, they played a huge part as well, look after the lads and make sure they're fed and watered. Sadly passed away, should be over 100 now. Maura Timmins from 18 Bestfield. There's Martin Dermody, who worked during the campaigns of the Carlow Sugar Factory. Michael Kehoe, Shamie Byrne, a great picture of him, loved the old uniform. And here he is with some of his family. Ger Doody again, and the late Kathleen McGee as well. All firemen that were involved, Pert Nolan, William Pert Nolan, he was a mechanic. Ollie Hutton worked in the factory for years as well, and Brendan Delaney. And there's Turlo up in the top there. He's been on RTE there talking about, Carlow again, about sports. Brendan Carlow to the fore again, which is great. Great work in that area. More personalities, Pat Bulger, he did a couple of shifts in the sugar factory as well. Johnny May was in Armour Salmon, and John C. Fitzpatrick, who was another fireman that was also in Armour Salmon. And the photograph there is from the County Museum. It's a selection of photos. Nearly there, Bollum Hogan, Bill Piggott, Oliver Byrne and Eddie Cox, all gone now sadly, but great personalities there taken, and great, lovely photograph, isn't it? They're just in great old form there. And more personalities then. I mentioned Noel Kehoe earlier on, great man with sports and involved with Erin Foods as well as the sugar factory, and Jimmy Reddy, who also was involved in the Erin Foods and sugar factory. And Pat Hennessy is here. Hasn't changed much in 20 years. Looking well, still has the hair, not worrying the world. Great. Pat is here somewhere in great form, fair play to him. And the late Tom Mulhall, so talk about the bench there with Paddy Bergen as well. And this is Paddy Bergen's son that was here last year promoting, talk about, and you can see the lime kiln in the background. Great picture there by Michael O'Rourke, great photographer. Martin Nevin is here tonight. Great to see him, Martin, and his brother. Two of them great personalities in the sugar factory and in sports and in, bringing Carlow to the fore in every sense of the word. Great people. There's Burr, sadly passed away there. He was 101. I took those couple of photos, went up to him, full of chai, he was singing, and I think he could play an instrument as well, some shape. Here he is here with some family members and the Cahirlock as well, and some other. I remember one of these people was 102 or something. In a great form, yeah. Great to see it. There's life after retirement, isn't there? Just an example of one of the many businesses that benefit not just Carlow, but County Carlow as well, with the lads going in and going out there, buying the bicycles and the cigarettes and the newspapers and stock and milk and whatever else. Cigarettes, mainly, I'd say. Here's a great picture of Jerry Nash, got me good to him. He did a brilliant article, we mentioned earlier there, 74 years. A lovely photograph here, taken through the gate by Oliver Byrne. Some more personalities, Liam Shanahy, got me good to him. This is Mixie Monaghan, who started out as a messenger boy at the age of 16. Linda Lauder gave us these photos. Tom Dooley with his wife, that's Linda's parents, Maureen. Tom worked for 36 years, retired in 1987. He worked for a while in the Weybridge section in his time. Maureen's brother, Jim Monaghan, also worked, as mentioned here. Here's another photograph then with Mr. Sheehy in the middle with all the various people retiring there in the 80s. More photographs then. Paddy Costello, Pádraig de Burca, Ian Williams, and here we have a few from Carlow. John O'Brien from Carlow. You might have seen a photograph earlier of him with his wife at home. I saw this photo earlier as well, but I don't have the names, but it's the transportation section of the sugar factory. Various personalities then, some of them worked in Erin Foods, Mary Byrne, God be good to her, and Martina Kelly, Paddy Moran, Paddy Walker, and Johnny Harmon here again, sisters Anne Smith and Margaret Walsh, Tommy Egan, Jimmy Morrissey. Great pictures. More personalities, Joe Ellard, P.L. Curran, David Byrne, Tommy Collins, Paul Lyons, Liam O'Sullivan, John Monks, Tom Kenny, Mary Kelly, Pat O'Brien, Judy O'Brien, that was in Erin Foods, Elizabeth Clark was in Erin Foods, and Tony Whelan, Sean Byrne, Pat Shaw, John O'Donovan, and Liam O'Sullivan again. He's in it twice, he's really good. Yeah. Now, this then was the book launch here last year. Big crowd again, great. And the various personalities there, great. These are some photos I just went around the camera. Mr. Kehoe there in right form. Various personalities that were at. So I'm just there now. I was over to see Esther Walker there 2 weeks ago, and he was in just great form. 90 years of age, full of stories and full of life and full of sugar, as I was. Great form, little Hawaiian thing there. A lovely family, really nice photos. This is the book. There is a couple of copies, but I don't know if there's any left, but don't take any more than one. There's not enough for everyone in the audience. God be good to Gayburn. And then, I nearly finished here, just to thank you then, follow-up information. Jerry Nash's Newscatcher article, really, really good. The Carlow Nationals and Leinster Times, fantastic. Dermot O'Brien on all Carlow photographs. He has 4 books out. The first one was sold out, second possibly. But Carlow Sugar Factories and Erin Foods and Armour Salmon are well represented in those books. There is a Carlow Sugar Factory Facebook page that has some fantastic photographs in it if you go in on Facebook. I know there's a kind of drift away from Facebook, but for us all, we're crowds. That's the place to go. You can go in on YouTube, there's some brilliant videos as well. The County Library, excellent source, and so this book comes from the County Library. And the County Museum has a whole section just to the sugar factory. The Chaz website, definitely have a look at that as well. And ICANN is a new area that we're getting involved in, to promote all the businesses and so on, and various institutions and football clubs and everything to do with County Carlow. YouTube and RT, as I said, really good. Nulloch Malloy's book, a confection of photographs. There's just the one copy and my own copy down there. Have a look at it. It's hard to get it now, but it's fantastic to get it and to see it. It's many photographs. And just to say thank you, the end. But that's my email if you want to take a note of it. PKW Curran, Paul Kenneth William. I've confirmed them twice apparently, that's why I've so many names. pkwcurran@gmail.com, or if you're on Facebook, go into PM, you can find me. So this photograph is the technologists in the 1920s, all foreign chaps. And this is our own old bunch here then, more recently. Great personalities there as well. So just then, I'm finished now, just to say you can breathe, but just to say, down the road we will be doing other presentations if you're interested. I'm working on the coal rolling mills and the blade factory for another day. Great personalities there as well. Poor old Frank Scully, great. He did a shift in there. Also done the barrow boatmen if you're interested, and the lock keepers and so on, County Carlow. Thompson's a really strong connection with the sugar factory, especially in the earlier years. And the P&T, my father worked in the P&T, and there's some great personalities there. I love these photographs here. That one was on the cover of, on the back cover of Dermot's book, a fantastic photograph. And this one here, the Telegraph boy, is in good form, even though they were bringing bad news. And the various personalities that worked in the P&T. This is a great picture here, isn't it? You can see that on the cover of a book. It'd be fantastic. Mr. Power here, one of the postmen as well. So I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thanks very much.